Hang in there, it
That
is! Smylie Kaufman for 61. Wow.
I'm Smylie Kaufman, and this is The Smylie Show.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of The Smylie Show. We have a guest who's been on now for his third time. We got Mr. Jordan Spieth joining the show. Jordan, thank you for the time. Just got done with a 3-week stretch, but it's currently day we're watching TGL, and just asked you if you watch it. You're not watching JT play today? What's the deal?
I was out of the house, and then I got a few text messages, and I asked somebody to explain to me what just happened, and found out he chipped in to go to extras and won, and they maybe used a hammer on another hole.
Yes.
So those guys got to be pretty tired. So I'm sure that woke them up a little bit.
What they showed Ludwig Berg, who was like just obviously won yesterday. He's playing 2 matches this afternoon, which coming off of a crazy West Coast where he was sick. I mean, this was kind of what it was always going to be, right? With TGL, like it was going to be cool once you got in there, but the issue for a lot of players was the potential of travel coming from the West Coast all the way back. Obviously, you're not on a team, Jordan, and a year coming off wrist surgery. I imagine it's nice for you to be able to head home, and then maybe in the future you could be on a TGL team. Who knows, right? Yeah,
maybe. I mean, I would talked with those guys from the very beginning, and just where I'm at in life with my 2 young kids, and I live in Dallas. Just isn't a great time right now, given when it is in our schedule, and you're seeing these guys obviously shoot back, but most of those guys either live there or live close to there, or
That's right.
don't have kids, multiple kids under 4 years old. So a little different place in life right now, but certainly that one that took place, that Tiger Rory one, was pretty exciting to the end. And then from what I'm hearing, this one today was as well. So
yes,
the concept is pretty cool. I'm having a different demographic when I'm at the course asking me about it than your typical network consumers on the weekend of a PGA Tour event. So they seem to be potentially accessing what they're trying to access, which is great if it's another way to help grow the game.
So no team is like silently trying to recruit you, although you say that, hey, right now I'm unavailable. Like if you look at Jordan Spieth on the waiver wire list, like currently it says like untradeable, like can't get you to come join the team. What about a sub? Could you be a sub?
I've been asked by a couple players now to sub in.
Who's asked you?
Still seeing that as an issue from my scheduling purposes here. They've asked, I've been there when Scotty's been asked, and it's the same kind of situation. So they're one of these venues in Dallas, and we might have a better chance of joining. So maybe down the road.
Can we workshop a Dallas team name? What would be the Dallas what?
Well,
let's see how you're on your feet. Let's
Cowboys and the Mavericks are kind of taken and not really in the best light right this second. So, we probably would get in trouble for using those anyways. But no, you got anything?
No,
the Schefflers. We could be the Dallas Schefflers. I'll take the Dallas Schefflers.
Hey, that's fine. That's totally fine. You'd have, you'd have to recruit Tom Kim over from Jupe Links.
We could get Willie Z, I think, and then you could get.
Okay.
So we'd have to trade Tom Kim for maybe some. I don't know.
Well, maybe you can get Kisner over in a package deal.
Yeah, first rounder and 2 second rounders or something like that.
Well, I mean, it's been interesting, like you're talking about TGL, different demographic, the unique impressions they've been getting. It's hopefully going to be good for the game. And your game, which you just got done with a 3-week stretch, like we just talked about, in San Diego this past week. You played with Ludwig Berg the first 2 days. Talk about that Thursday round. And it's always interesting, too, when you get paired with the eventual winner, because you kind of see, what it, potentially took and some of the hurdles that he may have dealt with that Thursday round, shooting 2 over and still winning that, end up winning the golf tournament. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think he's going to ask to be paired with me all the time. The only 2 times I've been paired with him the first 2 rounds were the Masters last year and then this event. And he almost won the Masters last year and then went and won this one. So I must make the game look hard. He gets some confidence out of it or something like that. But I also missed the cut at both. So as much as I do enjoy playing with him, and I do because it's fun to watch, I might try to stay away from that pairing for a little while. I don't have the same results. It was, we had that Thursday was a brutal day to play golf. It was a very tough golf course, and it was windy and raining. And, I thought he shot a couple under and turned it into a couple over on just your random Torrey Pine stuff, just some pins on knobs where, he missed a few putts from shorter range. And then, we caught a couple holes. Everyone caught, 4 or 5 holes harder than the rest of them. And on those holes, I think is where he made his bogeys. But for the most part, I was like, man, I shot 4 and he shot 2. I thought he shot 2 or 3 under and he posts 2 over. And typically that means that you're going to come out the next day with a little bit of fire. And he did. He just didn't get anything to go in the first day. And then, started to have a couple fall early in the second round. And then all of a sudden he was back to being under par for the tournament. So, I told my wife after the first round, I was like, I mean, he's as impressive as I've seen in a long time. And, I wouldn't be surprised if he has a chance this week. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins a lot of events this year going forward. I mean, it's only his 3rd year, maybe.
Technically this is technically his 2nd full year, last year being his technically I would call last year his rookie year, but the year before that is when he turned pro from getting his PGA Tour U card from Texas Tech, and then played some DP World Tour stuff, played some PGA Tour events, played a lot, and they got on that European Ryder Cup team. Right.
Yeah. And typically, I mean, I know from my own experience, but also, watching this now with a few guys after me, those guys you get that Ryder Cup experience that feels like you're trying to win a golf tournament every round. You play well in that. And then, and then all of a sudden 1 week things start. I mean, look at what happened to Scotty. It was a similar situation, right? He hung in there, and then early in the year, he gets the putt to fall his way. He wins. And then all of a sudden, what was coming, inevitably, that was just the time for it to come. And, it kind of feels a little bit that way with him. And, it's my job, and a lot of other guys feel that way about their own job, to try and, to step up and try to beat these guys while we're still young enough to do so.
Yes. I feel the aches and pains a little bit more than I may have when I was Ludwig's age. What is he, 24 something years old, 25 years old? Oh, to be young must be nice. But yes, definitely still have the game to go and take down a Ludwig, however he pronounces it, Oberg. So Jordan, tell me about you. Tell me about the last 3 weeks. I know coming off of wrist surgery, just the anticipation of being back, going to play Pebble. Start me there. What was the first day like? Because I didn't know it was as challenging as it was just right off the get-go with the wrist.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, I had surgery the 3rd week of August. So it was just over 5 months before playing a tournament round. And I mean, to be totally honest with you, if we go back, 2 weeks before Pebble, I was a legit 4 to 6 handicapper. I mean, I would have. How many rounds under the belt? I would have gotten 4 aside from the pros, and it would have been a good match. So honestly, the meteoric rise from then until now, has been some of the most impressive improvement in my game that I've ever had. But it's not saying a whole lot because I started lower than I had since I was probably 9. So it was, was it just like, was it the speed not there? Like we were talking like a couple weeks before, was it shot shapes, like just trying to like weave in? Cause like during all of this, like I know you're working on your golf swing and trying to get back to your DNA. So when you show up to that first tee at Pebble, are you just like, all right, let's see what we got and go find it? Yeah, pretty much. I think by then, I had and still have a really good outlook on this being a long-term thing. And like, I don't expect to come back and be the best right off the bat. This is a significant process.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
You watch playoff games. The playoffs are all that matter, and the league's got an issue. They just don't want to admit it. They brag about how huge they are, how global they are, ratings are through the roof, profits are through the roof. I mean, between the NBA and NHL lying about their ratings and the money they make, I'm sick and tired of it.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
I guess this is the battle for second place in the NBA's MVP. It's been Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He was like minus 250 a couple months ago. Then last month it was 3-1. I mean, it's now up to minus 440 here.
Voter fatigue is a real thing, but there is a chance for him to maybe go on a hot tear, go on a stretch that maybe opens the conversation back up a little bit. I wouldn't say Shai's completely out of the woods just yet.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
And I just remember being on I teed off at 10 at Spyglass was my first shot that I'd hit in that long. I'd never been through anything like this before. And I was JT was a nice, comfortable pairing, but I hadn't played any golf with him, since probably July. And I just remember standing on the tee and just feeling very grateful. There was, it didn't feel very different. Everything felt very similar to just another tournament week, start of a new season. But then when I was walking to the tee, I was kind of thinking about, trying to remember what day 2 through day 7 was post surgery. Just being like, man, this is awful. But I know it's the right thing to do. It's going to be a long road. Eventually I'm going to be back to doing exactly what I'm about to do right now. I just feel very grateful. I had a lot of, between my family to friends, to my physios, to therapists, everyone in between, my surgeon, just, a lot of people in my corner coaching me through it, taking me into this place I hadn't been before and making me feel at ease, making me feel confident about the future. And, my team's always been, has always been, I think, the best in the world. And we needed to do stuff in the shadows this last 6 months and kind of rebuild a lot of different things, whether it's just strength in the left hand to, mechanics in the swing, and knowing that it wasn't going to be, my expectations should be low was also a new thing for me. So, I hit a pretty good drive. I thought it in the fairway. I was about a yard or two off, and then I hit a nice shot up onto the green, and I thought, okay, this isn't so bad. And I ended up 2 under through my first 5 holes, and got off to a good start through 9. And I had a bunker shot on my 10th hole, number 1, and I had to hit it really high and spinny, and all of a sudden the wrist just jammed on me, and it didn't loosen up for the rest of the round. And it's kind of a new experience. So for the first few days there, it was tough. And I spent a lot of time after the round on Saturday on the range. I videoed in with my coach, and I was like, look, I was trying to do this. I got away from the status quo, what we've been doing. I'm going to get back to it tomorrow, but tell me, where do I need to feel it? I had a little video lesson in, and that was actually a kind of a big day for me. It was after I shot 79, and I was at a, pretty low point right there, given, it was my first week back. I started off, pretty well, and I was excited to be back. And all of a sudden I was like, man, I don't like this feeling at all. And So I had a really good session Saturday that led into a really solid round Sunday, and I carried that over into Phoenix. And Phoenix was a little warmer, so I was a little more loose. I didn't worry as much, and I had a really solid week. I mean, that was the first time I was in contention in a year. So that, and it felt good. I was having fun. I was smiling, laughing. I was competing. Obviously, Thomas didn't allow anyone to get very close, but it just felt good to see my name on the leaderboard, and and it just it solidified that this is exactly what I love to do, and I love feeling this way, and I'm seeking to do that quite often.
And so I have some videos that I took from you from Phoenix, one in the practice round, one I believe on the Saturday round that Charlie's going to roll in here. And you talked to me a little bit, walking down the 8th fairway on Wednesday, just about trying to get back to your DNA. And as we look at these videos, I just want you to kind of describe what you were doing over the last couple years that you couldn't do now that your wrist is you've had surgery, you're able to kind of do things that you weren't able to do before.
Yeah. So, whether my wrist caused it or not, I actually don't know. And I don't know if I ever will know, but point here in that rehearsal is I'm trying to get my hands deeper and lower at the end of the backswing. And what they were doing was they just kept carrying on up in the air. So my right elbow ended up really high. My hands would track really high, and my hand path would get, would just start working its way up super steep, where my DNA is for my hand path to kind of start nice and out at the camera there. And then it starts to kind of like my rehearsal, it starts to work horizontally to get depth without going up in the air, and the club can collapse at that point. And then from there, I just do a really good naturally of the club bowing and shallowing. That's the kind of stuff that I've done since I was 13 years old. So that rehearsal allows me to kind of feel exactly where I need to try to get that backswing. As you can see, the feel versus the real is quite different. That backswing gets it super deep and super steep, and then it lays into a pretty good spot for that shot there. And the swing length becomes shorter. I don't outrun it with my body. I don't get the big misses. Yeah. And then eventually this wrist will start to really, and it did that week, is when I know that I'm doing it right is when I'm in front of, and I can hit these low fades on command. I can always hit any other shot. If I've got a long iron or a driver that I'm in front of and I'm just pinch cutting, that's when I'm going to play really good golf. And what has to happen for that right now is it requires a lot of this left wrist, because the left wrist is going to have to go in radial, hold in radial, and it's going to have to bow. So it's going to have to go, radial and bow. And that's kind of my sweet spot. Think a la Colin Morikawa, right? How he takes it up there, and then his left wrist, and Dustin Johnson, they have nice set and then they bow it, and it's almost like an end range bowed feel. And it allows you to just kind of hold that for impact. It's a face stabilizer. So, Phoenix, I had control of those fades. I mean, I hit some really good long iron shots under pressure on par fives. I hit some good tee balls, and I didn't have them at all week 1 or 3. And whether that's weather or, by week, I think I just improved into week 2. And then last week, I think I just got I just wasn't quite as well. But the good news is I know what it is. I know what I need to work on. I'm going to rest it here for a little. And, I keep the status quo of what we've been building, because, that was a different kind of feeling than even contending in the last couple of years. That was a different feeling, of control that I had at Phoenix. And it was only week 2 after all that. So.
Yeah, well, this is actually a fun view that I had here. Back right hole location. This was the 7th hole in Phoenix, and you know how challenging the shot is on this hole. And the fact that you were able to set up aiming at the flag stick here. And my favorite part is pick up the tee. I'm hitting my spots. It's like a good feeling, right? When you play a hard par 3 and you hit your spots, that had to be like a confidence builder, just knowing you're able to hit the shots that you're trying to create in your head.
Yeah, I'm set up at that little T sign right there, and that's splitting the pin and the camera tower, and you just can't go at that pin. So the idea is to hit it right at that, play the ball flight. I think I had a 7-iron, and I need to hit it a little harder. So this is even, I think I even hit a little draw. You see it kind of launch a little bit right.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the 2 best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
I talked about AZ Fudd a lot, folks, and said when she got back from that knee injury, remember, it's the second ACL tear she's had in her career, that she was going to be a difference maker. UConn is plus 330. They're not going to get challenged again in the Big East until they come out of conference play in a conference tournament. I still like them at plus 330 to win a national championship.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I feel when I look at this Arizona team, I don't take them serious as a national title threat because you're asking Caleb Love to bottle magic that I just don't even think exists.
4.4, 6.6, 7.4, 7.7, 7.8. This guy is literally taking, he'll shoot you out of games, Kevin.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Just forget about the pin, but it was never going right. I was able, as you see, once you see my chicken wing coming back, that's me holding on to that club face, meaning it's not going to go left. Yeah. I started being able to miss it left, and that's never been a good thing for me because I grew up literally missing 3 shots in a year left. And so when I start to be able to hold on to that face because the rest of the swing's in the right place, it takes away half the golf course for me, and that's a big weapon. So I didn't know you had that view. That was a good shot. I ended up making that putt for birdie, which would have been, there would only been a few birdies on the hole that day. And that's a hole where you're normally just trying to make 3, and I stole 1.
I know.
And then you can roll into the rest of the round, feeling like you're already ahead. So, it was fun. And again, like Phoenix, it's funny. These other 2 events were elevated, but Phoenix felt the most elevated. I mean, obviously
just because there's so many people, right?
Yeah. I mean, it feels like a major, like it's crazy. You're just dealing with kind of each round, the pressure of it being like a major. So what I look for there,
this is a driver swing now that we've switched to for those that are listening. And Jordan, the driver, when we were talking about this, so last year you drove it so well, and the way you described it to me was that you had a little bit more time in the golf swing to be able to maybe time it up a little bit more than maybe the irons because it's a shorter swing. But just talk a little bit about your feels. And I see a stronger left-hand grip. Is that something you're working on too?
Well, so when I first ran into left-hand problems back in late 2017, when I first injured my hand, that's when I had really bad weak grip problems. And it's been in a pretty good place for 3 or 4 years now, 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah, it looks good.
Which is really, that's everything. I already start with a less than neutral grip, as a number of players do. Some really good ball strikers do, and some really good ball strikers have stronger grips. It doesn't, I guess, necessarily matter based on the players I see. I'm sure.
Isn't it easier to get more wrist flexion? Isn't it easier to get more wrist flexion in your lead wrist having a weaker grip? I just think about Colin Morikawa as a prime example.
So maybe that's what it is versus you certainly have more room to move into it during the swing, whether people do that naturally or not. It's kind of a hard thing, I think, to learn.
Yeah.
But between JT starts with a weak grip, strengthens it out of transition, Colin, DJ, these are guys with pretty weak grips, but then you got guys with stronger grips that they're phenomenal ball strikers too. So, but yeah, there's a chance. My gloves now, I'm trying to get my gloves made like the the old ones I used to wear where the straps come all the way across. So it makes it look makes it look stronger. Not for it to make it look stronger. It actually just makes the glove fit better. But in general, that could be. But yeah, I mean, my hands on it, I'm not worried about it. If anything, when my wrist would hurt, I would weaken it. So it is something that is when I'm doing when it looks like that, it means I'm not feeling any issues. But swing length is shorter here. Even when I drove it well last year, I was at or past parallel most of the time, and these drivers are short of parallel, and that's always a good sign from this angle. And then it all just kind of looks together, right? So, yeah, it was. Look, it's it took me almost 12 weeks to be able to hit a real ball. It took me another 4 before I could really call it a practice session, 100 balls. From there, I'm still trying to build the backswing mechanics. I didn't go past backswing mechanics until almost Christmas.
Were you just like hitting foam balls, or were you just?
Yeah, I was hitting Nerf balls. I was hitting Nerf balls. I would hit like 20 or 30 real balls, and then the rest Nerf balls from like week 11 and a half to call it 16. And I would work up my real ball count, but I was hitting Nerf balls into a net essentially. And it was, I mean, it's the kind of stuff, you watch tournaments and you see, you see Ludwig last week and it's like, oh, it's so easy. Right. But I mean, he went through this at some point, the kind of Tiger talks about how annoying some of the stuff he had to work on was that would, even before he went through swing changes, that you wouldn't even necessarily notice that were just timing elements like the pausing and stop. I mean, I did so many start halfway back, pause, go from there, take it to the top, hit it, or go to the top, pause, hit it. And it doesn't matter where it goes. It's just trying to rebuild these patterns and kind of get it in your head. And although I did have a lot of time off, I'm still working out of the opposite patterns. It wasn't like it was just fresh concrete to mold. I like to call it like molding concrete, but in general, there's still, if I just swing without really putting my brain on right now, I still do bad habits. I don't get my hands lower and deeper. They start going higher and longer, but they'll do it way less now than they did, 3 months ago. So it's just moving that needle just a little bit at a time. And then, at some point I'll be able to go more brain off and more brain on to something else, which is really the goal. So this first stretch, I did rehearsals, as you saw, on all those swings. Ideally I don't have to, but what I started to figure out was, when I did a rehearsal, it was just 1% better than when I didn't.
I talked about AZ Fun a lot, folks, and said when she got back from that knee injury, remember, it's the second ACL tear she's had in her career, that she was going to be a difference maker. UConn is plus 330. They're not going to get challenged again in the Big East until they come out of conference play in a conference tournament. I still like them at plus 330 to win a national championship.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You watch playoff games. The playoffs are all that matter. The league's got an issue. They just don't want to admit it. They brag about how huge they are, how global they are. Ratings are through the roof. Profits are through the roof. I mean, between the NBA and NHL lying about their ratings and the money they make, I'm sick and tired of it.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.